What's up, my beautiful people? Exile451 here with another daily dose of Reddit Hope and Happy, and today we're going into r/AskReddit, where some kids decide to get themselves intentionally stung by hornets. So, let's get to it. So the question was, parents of Reddit, were there ever times where you legitimately worried your offspring might be too dumb to survive? When I was 5, I was extremely curious as to what a bee sting felt like. So I caught a yellow jacket with a butterfly net. After much pondering of the bee, I promptly grabbed the bee between my hands and squeezed as hard as I could. I spent the next hour screaming my butt off in my backyard. A week later, I did the same thing because I caught a big fuzzy bee and wanted to know if that one felt any different. It didn't. Not at all. This continued for another 2 months. Well, at least it was just yellow jackets and bumblebees, because these new murder hornets or murder wasps or whatever that are starting to show up are, young you would have been in a lot of pain, though I doubt you would have done it again. My youngest, who is now 1, is a little daredevil and has recently learned how to walk. He barrels through the house, crawls up on his sister's toddler bed, and tries to jump off. He did this yesterday, cut his lip, and ripped his frenulum. Blood was everywhere. He cried for about 5 minutes, the time it took me to clean him off. I gave him a sippy cup, go to take his clothes to the laundry room, come back to the playroom, and see his little butt try to do it again. I keep a pretty good eye on my kids. I've got 3 of them, 4, 2, and 1. The floor is concrete for now. We're replacing the floors, so I put a ton of blankets on the floor to cushion it. But it's never the floor that hurts them. No, my 2-year-old managed to go sprinting into a wall. Also, my youngest managed to give himself and his brother, 2-year-old, a massive goose egg because he got it into his tiny noggin. He needed to headbutt his brother as hard as he could. Twice. I wish I could say they didn't get it from me, but they do. When I was 7, I backed my bare butt into the hot glass of a pellet stove. I couldn't sit down for a week. When I was 9, I ran straight into a wall, knocked out a tooth. When I was 14, I was sprinting through a parking lot, jumped over a curb, and smacked my face into a pretty thick branch. Got knocked back, and my head bounced on a curb. I wouldn't go to school for the next couple of days because everything above my nose was black and blue. After my 3rd kid, I ripped out a stitch while cleaning when I got home from the hospital. Like, right after I got home. Me. What the heck happened to the house? Boyfriend, Emily, go sit down and sleep. I will take care of it. Me, like heck you will. So I took another Percocet and went on a cleaning rampage. I regret nothing. My house looked fabulous. Oh, 3 kids all under 5. The funny thing is, I can actually absolutely relate to this because like I've mentioned before on the channel, I have quadruplet siblings, and I remember what it was like when they were all like 1. And yeah. Oh my gosh, I remember those days so vividly. And the crap they would get into. I mean, my gosh. Oh, and the stuff one of them still does, and he's married now. Whatever. Kids. Follow up on that. When I was maybe 2 or so, I figured out that I could take the protective stair gate out by pulling it up off the tracks set up by the sides of the stairs. So what did I do? I rode that thing down the stairs like a sled. That's what. It was awesome, and while my mom can attest that she found me on it at the bottom of the stairs laughing, unharmed save for maybe a bruise, she still seems to think that I simply pushed it over and fell and has a minor heart attack thinking about it. So this kind of reminds me of a story from my childhood. Again, very, very early memory. When I was a kid, I had this rocking horse that I loved. And I'm talking like really young kid, like 2 or 3. And one day, I was just channeling my inner Ricky Bobby. And it was just like, gotta go fast, gotta go fast. And so I just kept rocking that thing faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. Until eventually, I was rocking so hard, I flipped over the top of it and smashed my mouth on the corner of one of the bases there, where, you know, it actually rocks on. And my mom came running into my room. She was all panicked. She was freaking out. And she was thinking, you know, I was going to be scarred and I would have all these issues with my face. And all that ended up happening was when I smile, I've got this dimple where I hit the base. That's really it. I mean, she says it's a cute little injury, Dimple. I honestly don't know what she's talking about. But, yeah. My youngest daughter repeatedly banged her head on her crib till her head bled. She works at McDonald's now. Well, at least you didn't have to save for college. Not my kids, but when I was younger, less than 8, I'd play with explosives and fire. One time, I set my arm and part of my torso on fire by accident. I was near a bucket of water though, so it's all good. Another time, I filled a 2-liter bottle with dismantled fireworks and assorted bits to make what I now know is a shrapnel bomb. Another time, I jumped off the roof of my 2-story house with an umbrella after I watched Mary Poppins. TLDR, I'm 22 and completely surprised I made it this far. So, more stories here, but when I was a kid, and for the brief time we lived in a Mountain West state, they were very, very liberal with the fireworks laws back then. Apart from the fact, that you could only really have them around the time that they were relevant, you could basically buy anything except for aerials, and even aerial fireworks, people still just drove out to a nearby state and bought them, then brought them back. And, nobody cared. To the point where they're once again legal here, which is great, but that's a whole different story. Anywho, we got those little firework tank things that were basically sparklers put into a tank, and we'd have little tank battles with them. And I remember one time I was up against my friend and we had our tanks going at each other, and one of the sparks from his flew off and hit me right in my right forearm. And I think I still have the burn mark there. I mean, it's a little faded now with time, but yeah, I've still got the burn mark a little there from where that spark hit me, and it hurt, frick. I mean, that thing burned, obviously, but yeah. Don't play with fireworks, kids. They're not toys. Follow up. My ex-stepbrother did the Mary Poppins bit once, only it was with the umbrella from the deck furniture and off a 2-story porch. He also accidentally ripped off the trampoline on occasion, and once flipped off into the side of a tree. I have no idea if he is still a goober. Unfortunately, our parents got divorced. But I do rather miss his antics. Reminds me of 2 stories from when I was younger, told to me by my mom and sis, as I can't remember most of them. There was once a cupboard in my house above the cooker. I asked my parents what was in it, but they just shrugged it off and told me to stop pestering them. After a while, they decided it was fun to torment their youngest child by not telling him what was in said cupboard. This became too much to bear, and I decided I was going to find out by myself. So I climbed up onto the kitchen surface, don't remember a thing past this point, and headed over to the cupboard. I only had my tiptoes on the cooker top, as that was the only way I was going to reach it. I then pulled it open a bit, holding on for dear life. Unbeknownst to me, the cupboard door, which swings up, is spring-loaded. This led to me being thrown off and performing a backflip, well, most of one, and landing on the stone floor head first. Trip to the emergency room confirmed concussion, and I was out of it for a day or 2. Oh, and the cupboard had Tupperware in it. Second story is a lot shorter. I shouted, "Mommy, Mommy, look at me!" And I ran as fast as I could into a wall, breaking my arm. TLDR, I am immune to natural selection. I don't really remember this, but I've been told that around the age of 6, I downed a bottle of shampoo to see how it tasted. It tasted like nickels. Also, I once lost a charger for my Game Boy Advanced, so I stripped 2 wires from an old lamp plug, put the ends on the battery, and plugged it in. While it didn't charge my Game Boy, it did set it and the carpet on fire, which was pretty entertaining. Oh my gosh, dude. Did your parents never teach you about electricity and how it works? Follow up to that one. I once did something similar to the carpet on fire. When I was about 5 or 6, I was absolutely fascinated with the thought of creating fire by using matches, so one night, I made myself stay awake until my parents fell asleep and went to the kitchen. I climbed the counter, opened a cupboard, and took some matches. I opened the pack, struck one, and waved my hand in a circle motion, which immediately set fire to the curtains and the carpets. Fast forward about 2 hours, and my kitchen is gone, and there are firemen all around. TLDR, I set fire to my kitchen when I was 6. You would have been an excellent Boy Scout, because there are very few things Boy Scouts love more than fire. And my source for this is that I'm actually an Eagle Scout, so very familiar with it. Speaking of being on fire though, I'd love it if you guys would check our social media accounts and start lighting things up over there. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and the links are all in the description. Would love to chat with you there, see you there, and just get to know you. My timeline is all messed up, but here are some examples of how smart I am. Playing with shovels with my brother, 6 stitches on the top of my right foot. Jumping into a well my dad was having dug, we lived in the country, yelling, "Woohoo! Hoo!" like Goofy or Bugs Bunny and friends. Luckily, it was dry. Landed face first and broke a rib. Playing on the monkey bars during recess while it was raining, I hit my head on a pole on my way down. Had a seizure while I was knocked unconscious, and peed my pants, and all the kids made fun of me for weeks. Oh yeah, and I managed to break my wrist when I fell too, or maybe that was a different monkey bar instance. I should ask my mom. Threw poison ivy on a campfire. I was in the hospital for a while. Tried skateboarding. Broke my ankle in 3 places. I've had 2 surgeries since, and it still sucks. Finally, just last year, I thought I could jump over a trash can at the train station. Alcohol was involved. Dislocated my shoulder. This is only a sample of my escapades. My parents are still proud of me though. I'm in graduate school now working on a PhD in physics, which at times I feel was another decision detrimental to my welfare. Well, you never know how someone's gonna turn out. Follow up to that, jumping in the well sounds fun. The game my friends and I used to play that made my parents facepalm was Chariots and Spears. Ride your bike top speed down a hill, and friends throw sticks at your spokes. We got that idea from watching Ben-Hur. Outcome was a concussion and face full of road rash for me. Other games included rolling down large hills in tractor tires or compost bins, if we could find them. Constructing horribly dangerous skateboard ramps, etc. We were idiots. I had a lot of concussions and injuries doing stupid stuff like that, and I'm also a PhD student. Correlation? Need a larger N. Not a parent, but I had a special hut when I was a kid living in a large residential area that was mostly still under construction. This was a big square plastic hut that had just enough space at the bottom, this area was later filled in with concrete, for me to wiggle into. I spent hours in it messing around with all the cool metal stuff and all the little red plastic things lying around. Only realized many years later that it was the electrical transformer for the whole neighborhood. This was also during a period of my life where I dared myself to squeeze out one of my windows and slide along the windowsill and climb back in the other. First floor. Apparently, the neighbors didn't think as much of it as me. Okay, so last story, I swear. When I was about 4, I went missing for the space of like several hours. And the area we lived in had a prowler around there recently, if I'm getting my timeline right. Someone was just coasting around the neighborhood, and it wasn't exactly like a main thoroughfare. Like, you had to drive to get back there. Just coasting around up and down this quiet little California suburb. And so everyone was freaking out that some stranger might have grabbed me. I mean, the cops were called, and there was this big search done, and eventually they found me. I'd walked all the way to a friend's house, walked inside when they weren't home, and was just playing with his toys. And the parents got home and found out what was going on, and then heard me up in their son's room playing with his toys. And yeah. I mean, obviously it turned into nothing, but still, I had a very bad habit of freaking my parents out. Tends to happen when you're a bit more independently minded, though. My little brother, age 8, plays with fireworks. Now, I don't mean little sparklers or something. He makes his own Roman candles and artillery shells. The funny thing is, he's ridiculously good at this. He went to the local library and checked out a college-level chemistry textbook, read practically the whole thing, and took notes. He now knows what chemicals burn different colors and how to get these chemicals by reactions with simple household things. Best part about this was him asking my mom for 50 pounds of fertilizer for his birthday. So he's not too stupid, but way too smart to make it past his teenage years. Yeah? You got yourself a little pyrotechnic there. Talk about a genius kid, though. Oh my gosh. I hated chemistry. I could never figure it out. We were just about to go into the glory that is our first Target store opening nearby. I parked, safely crossed the street with the kids, and then my eldest, probably 11 at the time, took a flying leap onto what he thought was a large red bouncy ball for sale in front of the store. Turns out to be concrete. Shaking my head. Well, I can say this much. At least that's better than trying to vault over one of those like small pillars, which I think are called bollards, in front of like Best Buy, and smacking yourself in the junk. Because there's plenty of stories of guys doing that, and it is not only embarrassing, but one of the most painful things that you could ever possibly do. Which I don't recall having done, but I still may have done it at some point. I would not be surprised if I did. There's more funny and uplifting AskReddit content in the playlist link right here on the left, or if you want to see the video YouTube thinks is best for you, go ahead and click right there on the right. Now, you guys, stay safe, stay healthy, stay inside if you're supposed to. I will see you all tomorrow. Until then, I'm Exile451. Stay beautiful, people.